Hello, all. I hope you're staying healthy and staying safe. Most importantly, I'm Jordan Cornette with ESPN. I help Coach Cal annually with his basketball fantasy experience. As an extension of that fantasy experience, which is one of the many charitable acts Coach Cal does, bringing everybody together, cultivated in charity and goodwill. That fantasy experience alone raises $8 to $9 million that gets spread out to various different charities because that's who Coach Cal is. That's what Coach Cal does. The reason why I am here is another one of Coach's charitable ideas. He didn't just want to sit around and wait for this to pass. He wanted to get proactive. He wanted to generate an idea that would be uplifting in nature, something that would be positive, something that would educate people during these turbulent times. Hence the idea and why we're here today for another one of those experiences. Coach Cal is bringing us Coffee with Cal. That's right. Every Monday for the next 20 weeks, Coach Cal will be bringing on a guest that leads, that is a philanthropist in nature, or somebody who simply can educate you, make you forget about what's going on right now, because it's hard to escape the reality and the doom and gloom that we're in at times. So we're going to deliver and sprinkle in a little bit of positivity. Coach Cal is charitable in so many different ways, and this is just another one of those ideas. There's ways for you to get involved. This is just the beginning. Coach wanted to make this a national thing, take it to a national audience and platform with the idea of you getting proactive yourselves out there and being involved to generate money. Coffeewithcal.org is a website where you can get involved. Coffeewithcal.org to see where you can put your money into the beneficiaries of that money. So without further ado, let's welcome in the legendary coach, Coach Cal. Coach, tell me, what's the reason for doing this?
Well, we all started because when this happened, I think everyone out there was, how do I get involved? How do I help? And I would suggest to everybody, you start right there in your own neighborhood, your own town, your own city. How do I help? We got involved with our schools here, the Fayette County schools, because many of these kids are on a lunch program. Well, now how are they going to eat? How about now you add to it, maybe their families were laid off. So all we did was let's give groceries to, at this point, 600 families every week so they can stay on top of this. I talked to Larry Connor in Dayton, who's a big-time philanthropist that was doing stuff in Dayton. He gave me ideas. As a matter of fact, gave us money, 6 figures, to match what Ellen and I were doing to really make this work. It's supposed to be 4 weeks. Now it's going to be 8 weeks. Then we said, how do we get involved nationally? What can we do with some of these other charities? And basically, like we do with the fantasy experience, create relationships, bring people together, and take all that money, like every money, anything raised here that is either sponsorship or Ellen and I do, all is going to charity. And so that was the idea and why we did this. Coffee with Cal was every morning I would meet with my boys before I go in the office, and we talk about the issues of the world. We solved every problem. Well, that's done. I can't do it anymore. So I said, let's do it this way. And then bring in guests. Our first guest.
Got a good one, Coach.
What's that?
Got a good one in the first guest. Here.
Well, I mean, let me just say this. He has a big business. He's not laying off his people. It tells you the heart. Plus, he's from Pittsburgh. He's going to tell you where he went to school. I could care less where he went to school. But I know this. He's from Pittsburgh, a very ethnic, driven, wired, curious, compassionate town where he's from. I'm giving it away, but I'm going to let you introduce him. I'll throw this out. Has a bunch of businesses and stuff. So now you kind of know who this guy is. Go ahead, Jordan.
You do absolutely, Coach. He was born in Pittsburgh, a proud Pittsburgh native. He will let you know this, a graduate from the Kelley School of Business there at Indiana University. He's an entrepreneur of the billionaire variety, an investor, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, whom he acquired that team in 2000 and seen them do remarkable things during his time in ownership. But most importantly, as you mentioned, Coach, he's a philanthropist and he is a leader. And that's why you selected Mark Cuban, Coach, who you can go ahead and welcome into the show, Coffee with Cal.
Mark, go ahead. Show your shirt off. Drive us all crazy.
Come on now. Hoosiers, baby.
I should have known you were going to break that out. Mark,
Absolutely.
look, we want to hit a lot of stuff. And basically, we're at coffee, and let's just talk about stuff. And because of Jordan, he's Notre Dame, and me and you, and why don't we do a little basketball? The NBA's out.
Yep.
If they come up with a vaccine, this is easy. But if they don't, it's a little tougher. If they really get good treatments, it makes it a little bit, their options now.
Yep.
Where does it stand? I mean, I know how you are about people, but where does it stand? Can they finish this year? If something looks good, what would it look like if you were able to finish the season?
Well, hopefully we can. And you hit the nail on the head, Cal. It's going to depend on the science and the medicine. If they come up with ways for people to feel safe, to feel confident going into an arena with a lot of people, then we'll play in front of fans. If they come up with medicine that says, you know what, we can keep testing and we can keep a group of people that are quarantined together safe, then we can explore playing games without fans and just having players and essential personnel. That's kind of my guess where it goes. I'm not trying to give a prediction. I'm just hopeful more than anything else that we get to the point where we can play maybe 5 regular season games, then go into the playoffs, maybe play a best of 3 first round, best of 5, and then best of 7 to get to the conference finals and then finals. But, play it on TV. But you know how sports are, Cal. This country needs sports right now. We need something to get behind. We need a team to cheer for. We need to get our communities together and get them excited about their favorite teams. And so the NBA, I feel, kind of has a moral obligation that if the science is there and we can keep our players safe, to play the games in front of no fans and just on TV if necessary, but to get back out there and give people a chance to root for something.
I think there'd be a lot of cheers if it happened because, one, I don't think the NBA would ever do anything to have anybody in danger. They just wouldn't do it. Let me throw one. I'm being like Emmanuel quickly announced for the NBA draft. So basically, I have 5 guys that have announced for the draft.
Shocking, right?
But he was player of the year in our league. He was unbelievable from where he went his freshman year to now. Crazy. But now I got to ask you, when's the draft? How are we going to do this?
I have no idea. It's being discussed right now. There's obviously a lot of questions. Teams, are able to do Zoom interviews, but we can't bring kids in. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now. I don't have an answer for you, Cal.
Right, so I'm going to just throw this out. How do you drop the balls if you don't even know where people finished?
Yeah, no question. I mean, I don't have an answer for you. That's
all right. I'm going to throw another one at you. Here's a good one. So you don't finish, and a team that would have gone into the playoffs, they don't, and they're like the 14th pick, and they get the 1 ball. I mean, and the guy that was in the playoffs was hoping like, well, I wouldn't have wanted to, this stuff, how you bring them in, how you work them out. I mean, everything's up in the air, right?
Exactly. We don't know yet. I mean, again, we just have to be agile. There's so much uncertainty going on right now. I think Adam Silver did it the right way. He said, you know what, there's no point in discussing a lot of this in April. Let's get to May 1st. We'll reevaluate, and then we'll go from there. Because the one thing we know, Cal, is that things are changing rapidly. The science is changing. I'm a big believer that there's scientists out there, doctors out there that are going to get this figured out. And we will get to a point where we have those vaccines, we have those therapies, we have those preventive measures. We know how to keep things clean. We'll get there, right? I just don't know when. And hopefully, if it's within the next 60 days, I'm just guessing, then we can finish out a season. Because you know what? There are no rules anymore. Why can't the NBA play into August? We can. Why can't we have the draft during the season? And maybe by trying these new things, we'll learn, and it'll be a better way of doing it than the way we've always done it.
In college, I'm kind of saying the same thing in our recruiting. The summer may be eliminated. It will be eliminated, in my opinion. And we all may say, why were we ever recruiting in the summer?
Exactly.
And now you shift it, you save all kind of money. You have coaches to be able to be with their players who are on campus, because in the early days, the kids didn't stay for summer school.
Right.
Now they all do. And young coaches who have families, I'm not going to throw myself. I have a family, but I'm not the young coach anymore.
Come on now, Cal. Of course, we're all young.
Want to be with their own families during that summer. Here's the other one. Our players have to decide whether to stay in the draft or pull their name out. That has to be flexible, because we don't know when is the draft. And we got to give them enough time to explore their options and not say, well, we're not, you either make a decision by now or it's done. We have to be flexible.
No question. Agility is going to be the key word. But you know what, Cal, as you know as well as anybody, where there's change, there's opportunity. And this is the opportunity to really look at things that didn't work well before and change it all. And you know what? I'm going to throw it out there. If the NCAA can't get it right, maybe it's time to say goodbye to the NCAA. But we can save that for later.
All right, I got one more. This would be, and I'm throwing this at you. I haven't said this to you. Why not because it's so flexible, let these kids stay in the draft, and if they don't get drafted, go back to college?
I've always been okay with that. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I think that's more of an NCAA issue than an NBA issue. For us, I'd like to see the draft expand from more than 2 rounds to 3 or 4, because now that we have two-way players on the roster and we're up to 17, there's this mad scramble to see who's going to be a two-way player the minute the draft ends. We try to fill out summer leagues, and that's a mad scramble. And so if we take the draft to 4, who knows what the contractual terms will end up being for that 3rd and 4th round pick. But by doing that, we create more doors and more opportunities for players and more certainty with players, because a lot of guys, as you know, keep their name in the draft. They're told that they're going to be a top 20 pick and then end up not being drafted. And that just throws things into complete turmoil for them. So expand the number of rounds, open up some more slots for guys. And then if they don't get drafted, instead of just saying, find your way into the G League, I'm fine with letting them go back. I just got to convince 29 other guys.
I think part of the issue would be they become free agents and maybe only be able to put their name in the draft once. But my humble opinion, their destiny now is in their own hands, because they're not tied to any 4-year deals or numbers or locked in. They're a free agent. But anyway, that's
and that can work good or bad, right? For some free agents, that turns out to be really good. You didn't get drafted. You walk into the right situation. You get to pick your situation, and that's a good thing. In other scenarios, just from the team perspective, there's such, we call it the 61st draft pick. We actually work harder the minute the draft ends, because we only have a certain number of picks and sometimes no picks. And so the minute that draft is over, we're on the phone with agents, or actually before it's even over, saying, look, I know you've got promises, or you think your kid's going to get drafted, but we'll take him as the 61st pick. And meaning, the minute this is over, we want to bring him into summer league, or we want to sign him to a 2-way. And there's such a mad scramble right there that creates a lot of logistical problems. That's part of the issue I'm trying to resolve. But, we'll see what happens. Like we just said, we just have to be agile and try to come up with better solutions.
And I agree with you. Going forward, this is the time to try some stuff.
Yep.
This is it. You have this, everything is up in the air. We try, if it doesn't work, I'm trying to tell the NCAA and the coaches, let's try some stuff. If it does not work, we don't have to do it again. But this is the time that we can maybe move the NCAA to let's do certain things. But we're trying. Jordan, did you have something?
Yeah, Mark, me and Coach Cal were talking yesterday, and across the news wires is your flirtation with possibly running for president, which got us wondering, back in 2017, you had flirted with it. You were prodded again yesterday on Fox News, and you said a lot can change. So I'm going to ask you, Mark, what would need to change for you to realistically, truly run for president?
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm the type of guy that always keeps the door open. I never want to say never, because, who would have thunk that this would happen? This is the ultimate definition of a black swan event. any number of things can happen between now and the time I would have to file. So I just want to keep the door open. I'd say, the probability is low, but again, I just think this is the time. We're at a point in time in this country's history where we need someone who's independent, that the two-party system has let us down, that if it were up to me, there'd be no parties. Then, being a Republican, being a Democrat isn't getting the job done. We're not getting the best candidates. And whether it's me or somebody else, I just think that door needs to be open so that we can finally look to see who the best presidential and other candidates are, rather than just coming from the two big parties. So, I'm not making any promises. I'm not making any predictions, but I'm an entrepreneur. I always like to keep that door open.
I got to throw this in. Do you think the one silver lining in this, our country has become so tribal, it's scary. I mean, you lose and I win, you lose. I mean, do you think we're going to come together where people, it starts in your own community, your own neighborhood, your own city, where you see people leaning out windows, clapping for the first responders, singing songs, doing things? Is this maybe we're going to come together in the political system? How do we get this thing together?
Yeah, I hope so, Cal. I mean, you're exactly right. What we do in our communities is critical. And honestly, I think it started when Kobe died so tragically. I think that made us realize just how fragile life is. And it made us reach out to our friends and our families and even just acquaintances and tell them we love them and give people a hug. Now, maybe we can't give them a hug, but at least we know that this is just one more example of how fragile life is and how certain our world is. And maybe it is time to put down these barriers and come together. And you know what? If it's you, if it's me, if it's Jordan, it doesn't matter who. You don't have to be the leader to be a leader. You just have to go out there and take that first step. One of my friends once said, you know what? No one's a hero unless everybody's a hero. And that's kind of the world we're in right now. We all have to do what we can to make things a little better. And I hope you're right. I hope this partisanship goes away. And the only thing we're partisan about is Indiana versus Kentucky.
All right. I have one thing I got to tell you. I'm Catholic. If you're elected, think about me for the ambassador to the Vatican.
Done.
That's all it is. The ambassador to the Vatican. I do the ambassador to Italy. I'm also Italian. I got an Italian passport too, by the way. But
see? You made
the
it
Vatican,
easy.
Ambassador to the Vatican.
Done and done, Cal.
Since we're agreeing on stuff here, how about bringing back the Indiana-Kentucky rivalry? Everybody.
Yes. Yes, I'm negotiating right now, Cal. Let's do this.
Okay. How about we play it in your building?
Done.
I offered 2 years in Indianapolis, and they said no.
I can't speak for Fred or now whoever's taking his place. But at the same time, with all this stuff going on, I think close proximity is going to be important so that we don't have to get in planes and drive somewhere or fly somewhere. We just drive. So I say we just flip a coin.
And how about, let me go back. My people go crazy but maybe we do something for charity in your building.
You mean in Dallas?
Yeah.
Or in Bloomington?
No, your building. You have a building.
I have a building. But Cal, I'm talking about now, right? I'm saying, you know what? As we try to transition out of this, we need to get those first games. And, Lexington and Bloomington are so close. We hop everybody. We flip a coin, decide where the game is played that way. We get on buses. We take the buses right to whichever stadium, whichever arena, and then we just throw the ball up with fans or without, made for TV. If the NCAA doesn't want to go for it, I'll figure it out. I'll get us the TV partner, or you have your TV partners. IU's got theirs. Let's just do this, right? Let's just be that first game coming out for college athletics that gets the ball rolling.
Hey, without fans, I'm in. And we can do it. We can do it without fans. And like I said, I offer different places to play, but you got it. If that were to start us up and bring everything together and watch they're going to be really good. I lost my whole team. Is that why you're doing this?
Cal, you lose your whole team every year.
They don't even have a scholarship to give out. They got all 13 back.
Well, I'm not upset about that. And Archie's doing a good job. So
he is doing a good job.
But that's not what it's about, right, Cal? This is about, moving us forward, right?
Yep.
This is our community, the basketball community. This is where we get to say, you know what? Let's just do it a little differently, and let's just try to get the ball. Let's get everybody moving forward. What do you think?
I like the idea, and we're going to talk more about it. How about, I'm going to bounce this because we got to get off that subject pretty fast now. What about in Shark Tank, give us the best deal, you got involved and said, this is it, and it turned out to be like something you knew.
Well, I'm not going to say I knew that it was going to be this big, but there was a company called Cycloramic that used photography and video on an iPhone and this thing called computer vision, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. And then they pivoted to being able to take full panoramic videos of cars so that you can open up the car door, look inside, spin the car on a website. And that company that I invested $250,000 for 20% of the company, I think it was, ended up selling to Carvana 7 years later for what started out as a 20-some million dollar deal, but because Carvana turned into such a great stock, turned into a $50-60 million deal because of the value of the stock. So that one did really well for me. So that's my favorite.
You're talking America 2.0.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm saying in athletics, and you have to agree with this, whatever was going to happen 10 years from now is going to happen in the next 2.
Amen.
We're going to be that fast. If you're looking for investments now, knowing what you know, what kind of stuff would you say I'm going to look into these areas?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking at. One, things related to artificial intelligence. And so it's hard to know what's real. You need to go talk to the computer science majors at UK or IU to really get a sense for what's actually happening. But AI is going to dominate going forward. And because of this reset, going into America 2.0, I think particularly large companies are going to emphasize artificial intelligence more than they ever had before. Option number 2 is robotics. We've seen the problems of what happens in this country when we're dependent on other countries for manufacturing. We can't get drugs in, we can't get products in. PPE is an example, because we've offshored so much in manufacturing. With robotics, we can cut down the cost of manufacturing significantly. The problem is we are not the global leader here in the United States in robotics. Germany, Japan, and China really are ahead of us. So we need to get more investment in robotics so that we can bring products over here. And we're not going to recreate. The wrong thing to do is to recreate the manufacturing of yesterday. Putting people on an assembly line and having them do their part on the line. It's really going to be bringing in robots, but having the people who would have worked on the assembly line deal with manufacturing those robots, deal with cleaning, and maintaining those robots and managing those robots and watching them. There's so many different jobs, so that if we can do robotics right, we can create an aggregate more jobs this way than we would have done with old school manufacturing. And then the third element is in precision medicine. Our bodies are one big math equation. And we're seeing that now as you try to come up with therapies and vaccines for the coronavirus. We're hearing about the RNA and the genomes of the coronavirus, our own personal genomes, and the impact between the two. The more we understand about our body, the better medicines we can create. Individualized or personalized medicine is another way to describe it. And so those are the 3 areas that I'm looking at. So put those aside as kind of big picture macro issues. In terms of grind and hustle jobs, every single place is going to need to be cleaned, right? Every single place is going to have to be pristine so we feel confident when we go in. Like one of the things we're talking about for our arena, do we put labels on all the seats, on the chairs, on the handrails, on the escalator, so people know when the last time it was clean, so they feel confident that they can go in there? Do we do software apps with, or just phone apps with augmented reality, so that you can point an app at a seat and know when it'll show you the seat and show when the last time it was clean, how many people have been there, all these different things that we can do. But these hands-on type, clean, sanitize, those are going to be some of the new jobs that anybody can do. And then I'll add one more. If you're a user of Alexa or Google Home, that ambient voice is really easy to do. You can be 15 years old and teach Alexa things and set up scripts. But because we're going to be more hesitant to touch things, we're going to be more likely to want to talk to things. So when I go someplace, in an elevator, I don't want to hit the buttons. I just want to say 3rd floor. If I walk into getting ready to walk into a conference room, I don't want to grab the door. I just want to say, open the door. And so things like that, those are some of the bigger macro things that we'll see happening going forward. And then some of the things that if you're 16 years old or 60 years old and you're trying to come up with a new hustle, or you're trying to do something that is going to fit this America 2.0, those are some of the examples that
I got one thing. In 9/11, do you remember before in 2000, 2003, how we traveled?
Yeah, of course.
Like you walked people to the gate.
Yep.
I used to say, I'm going to miss 2 flights a year because I am not going to the airport an hour and a half early and spend at the end of my days on my deathbed, say I spent 4 years of my life sitting in the airport. What's not going to happen? I'd go 10 minutes before the flight, run there. If it was closed, I missed it. That's okay. When's the next one? But it all changed after 9/11. Now, all of a sudden, you got to get there early. You're not taking stuff on. Luggage, lines, testing, arms up, thing going around. Took my belt off. My pants fell down. I couldn't retie my shoes. I mean, craziness. But it needed to be done, and everyone accepted it because we were in a new normal.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you, Mark, would this – we don't have enough tests right now, but if we did, let's just say Kentucky, to come on our campus, we're testing everybody, and it's going to be on your phone. A friend of mine that talked about this to me, Mark Fisher. There's going to be a barcode, and when you're negative, that barcode lets you go into dorms, into anywhere, into arenas, and you got to get tested every 10 days, every 2 weeks. I don't know exactly, to update it. But it also may get you into restaurants. Now, all of a sudden, if you want to go in a restaurant and that thing, you got to show that phone. And maybe in an arena in Dallas, we're going to go, you got games on Friday, Saturday, Monday. They can come to the arena and get tested on Tuesday, 5-minute test, boom, it's in their phone. Those 3 games, you're safe to come. If you can't, I mean, does that make any sense?
No. And I'm going to tell you why.
Privacy.
Yeah, not just privacy, right? Because once you start testing for one thing, you're going to start testing for a lot of things. Once you start labeling people one way, you're going to start labeling people a lot of ways. It's not even about privacy. It's more about, putting brands on people. And I think that's scary. But more importantly, right, I get people wanting to test, and testing really helps us understand how the disease works, how it spreads, and tracing people helps us understand that even more. And that's important to coming up with solutions. But I truly, honestly believe that by this time next year, we'll have a vaccine. And if we have a vaccine within 12 months, I don't know that we need to go through all those steps, because once you let that genie out of the bottle, then you know what? It's hard to put it back in. Now, what do we do in those 12 months? Again, I think we're dependent on the medicine. I think sooner than those 12 months, sooner than a vaccine, we'll have some therapies so that if you're someone at risk, you have heart disease or you have diabetes, you're going to have to be ultra careful. You're going to have to do more than just abide by the social distancing, and you're going to have to take those precautionary steps. But you already kind of have to do that already because of the flu. So during flu season, if you're at risk, you take more precautions. So I think we'll have to be far more precautionary during that period till we get therapies and medicine for it. But I think we want to get people out there once we have that confidence that the medicine's in place. So to directly answer your question, I think in terms of a timeline, we'll have medicine hopefully within the next 6 to 9 months, that as long as you're not super at risk, the diabetes, the obesity, age, etc., then you're going to be a lot more confident to go out. And then we'll get to a vaccine, hopefully a year from now, maybe a little bit more. And that way we won't have to go into those scenarios where everybody has to get tested. Testing is great, and we want to do a whole lot more. And you want to make tests available. Like in Germany, you can go into a pharmacy and buy a test for $30. right? And we want people who are concerned about their health or their family's health or their friends' health to be able to get tested, to know if they have it so they know what to do. But I'm really afraid, like all the apps people are talking about, the tracing and contact apps, those kind of scare me because I think that delays everything more in terms of getting back to work. I'm a big believer in American exceptionalism, that there's going to be somebody from IU Med School that invents a therapy, or Pitt Med School. I know they're working on
My daughter's at Vanderbilt. She's a
Vanderbilt
doctor
too
up
does a
there,
great
Aaron.
job. Wherever it comes from, we are going to have one. There will be therapies and there will be medicine and there will be vaccines. And so I'd rather just have some really stringent, enforcing the social distancing rather than labeling people. Oh, you have the antibodies. No, I swear I have the antibodies. No, our test says you don't have the antibodies, or you can't on the antibodies to test, so you go to jail, right? That starts to get scary.
And you'd say, even if we got to stay out a couple more months, better than doing all the testing. Okay, one thing for the NCAA, we should never shake hands again. After an NBA game, what do you guys do?
So
you point.
You point. You know what? But we were talking about this. I was standing in the yard of one of my buddies, right? And we were keeping our 6 to 10 feet, which I would keep from this guy anyways. And so we were practicing what we would do. So where we came to was, one of these means I like you, okay. 2 of these means you're my guy. 3 and point, we're in love, right? I got you. And so that's where I'm going. I'm going for the pound to the heart because it's all about the heart.
And
I love it.
No post-game handshake in college. I'm saying that thing's done.
Yep.
I point to the other coach. We both walk off. We respect each other that way. Let me throw one other thing. You and what you're doing and being involved, do you agree with me? People should start in their own community. First of all, keep yourself safe.
Yep.
Understand, even if you don't have it, you may not know, but care about other people near you. If that's what you can do at this point, do that.
Yep.
Second thing would be start with your neighborhood. How do you help? Start with your town.
Yep.
Start with your city. Start with your state. And
Absolutely.
then some of us have the ability to do more if you can. Do you agree with all that?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%, 1,000%. This is where everybody needs to be a hero, and you start by just doing the littlest things. Maybe your neighbor's elderly and you're picking up a package and dropping it off at their front door, or you're calling them and saying, you know what, I'll be there at 1:00, leave the front door open. I'll bring in the groceries. I'll clean up behind myself. I'll sanitize and I'll close the door, wipe off the handles and lock it when I leave. Just little things like that make all the difference to people. And just showing that humanity, showing that love just goes so far. And it goes back to what you said earlier, Cal, that, the days of partisanship need to be gone. We're all human. We're all Americans here. Let's just do this together. And if we work together, we'll get through it together. And we'll come out in America 2.0 a lot stronger and a lot closer. You are exactly 100% right.
I'm also telling people to call your coaches, call your teachers, call your family, call your friends that you haven't talked to in 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's another way of, we gotta stop this. I don't even want to hear either side blame the other. It doesn't matter now. 5 years from now, we'll look back and there'll be books written on this, what we could have done, should have done. Now, let's just stay alive.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I mean, what, my Pittsburgh guys and I, we're doing a Zoom every Monday or Tuesday night. We're just talking trash and yucking it up like we're 16, 17 years old.
You still got the yins, or did you lose it when you went to Indiana or Dallas?
No, you know what? I'm in Texas now. I turned into a y'all guy. But when I go home, my mom's a Yinzer and my buddies are Yinzers. And so Yins guys going downtown, hang around the south side. Yeah, I still got it in me, but I do eat chip chopped ham though.
Coach and Mark, I want to remind everybody out there who's enjoying this conversation that coffeewithcal.org is where you can be proactive and donate. And Coach, Mark, tapping into your business acumen, what advice would you give to the worrisome everyday American out there wondering how they're going to be able to financially recover during this social distancing and quarantine?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. I mean, I've been telling all of my folks just to be transparent and honest. So I'm not going to lie. It's really hard right now. The kind of good news is that there are government stimulus programs. They've increased the unemployment benefits. So if you've lost your job, there's no shame in going on unemployment and getting the insurance, and getting that income. If you're an independent contractor, they changed the rules. In the past, you couldn't apply for an SBA loan. Now, as an independent contractor, whether you're a Lyft driver, whether you're a videographer, whether you're a bartender at weddings, whatever it may be, as an independent contractor, you can go to treasury.gov/cares, and there's a lot of new information on how to apply for what they call the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and they'll offer you whatever your income was for the previous for the previous 2.5 months. They'll offer you the average so that you have some income coming there. And then I expect that they'll continue this because unfortunately, I think it may be a little bit worse in terms of unemployment than people originally anticipated. And so go apply for everything. Keep up to speed on everything. Talk to people you know that are good at it. And, take advantage of every program that's available to you. And then hopefully, we get through this sooner rather than later.
You mentioned about some banks because the banks are making small business loans. You made a comment that I thought was, look, right now, get it out. There's going to be some fraud. We'll work on it, but you can't overanalyze this thing. When these people are starving, get it.
Yes. Yeah. It's, sometimes when you have imperfect information, you make imperfect decisions. This was really a ready, fire, aim situation. And so the Treasury really tried to do the right thing, and our legislators tried to do the right thing by creating the PPP program, which loans up to $10 million for small businesses, lets you, whatever you borrow, if you keep all your employees, by the time the term of the loan is over, it converts to a grant so you don't have to pay it back. That's all a good thing. But what's happening is these banks, particularly the bigger ones, are pretending this is a regular loan and, requiring more paperwork than just what the government requires, putting them in front of the loan committees, which slows things down, over analyzing these things, as you said, Coach. And so that's been a problem. So I've been telling our companies, particularly my smaller Shark Tank companies, to go to the smaller community banks. I'd rather deal with a small community bank or credit union in Lexington or Bloomington than a big bank in Dallas, just because they're more open to working with their depositors and their small businesses. So the banks really need to accelerate things. I'm hoping this gets all resolved within the next week to 10 days, and hopefully we'll look back at it and say, it was slower than we wanted to be, but we got it done. But if you have connections with banks, go apply for the loan, push them hard.
Central Bank here in Lexington has been on fire, pushing everything they can out the door. Luther Deaton's done a great job.
Good.
Mahan at Live Oak was giving away $100 million a year. It's an online bank in Wilmington.
Yeah, I know Live Oak. Yep.
And doing great work. And you're right, though. We need to have oversight, but it's like, let's go. It's
going to cost us more. Look, the number of fraudulent loans and whatever that total is, or the number of applicants who really would not have otherwise qualified, whatever that total is, that's going to be less than what we lose as a country, as an economy, by having companies not be able to get the money soon enough and having to lay people off or close their doors. And so it's really just a simple math equation. Let's just take the least amount of loss, the least amount of negative impact, and deal with it. And we got to move fast. Sometimes you just got to be lean and mean and quick. And that's just not happening right now. Hopefully that changes quickly.
All right, you and I are going to talk more. My coffee's cold, so we're done here. But we're going to talk more about this Indiana-Kentucky game.
Let's go.
And hey, if it's one of those, we're going to start it all. No fans, let's go. And then Kentucky gets beat because you got me to play. I got to get some floor seats in Dallas.
Done. Whatever it takes, Coach. I got you. Just think how much fun it would be. Get the kids on the bus, clean the bus up, get the kids on the bus, essential personnel only, no fans, put it on national television, just have the whole country go nuts because college basketball is back. Unbelievable.
I think it's closer for them to drive to Lexington than us to drive to. No?
You know what? We'll do this. We'll set up a fund for some charity that really needs it. And whichever side's alumni donate the most, that's where it's played.
All right, you're done then, because these people here are crazy.
I don't know. B-Town rules.
That's what Coffee with Cal is all about. The origin of some beautiful ideas. Mark Cuban, thanks so much for joining Coach Cal. We really appreciate it.
Just remember, in 49 other states, it's just a game.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely great stuff there from Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, incredible leader and philanthropist, which is the reason why Coach Cal wanted him to start off this beautiful series, which will extend for the next 20 weeks. That's right. Coffee with Cal for the next 20 weeks. If you want to be proactive, because every idea that Coach Cal and his lovely wife Ellen have is cultivated in charity. So they want you to go to the website to donate. That website is coffeewithcal.org.
The Jordan, I will say, start in your community first. Start in your neighborhood first. Start in your town. Those that want to get involved with us, you are welcome. If you can't, you don't, that's fine too. This thing, let's bring people together. That was an unbelievable interview right there. And I say interview, the coffee, and now the next one, you're going to have fun. I'm not going to tell you who it is right now. I want to have a little bit of a lead up to it. So it's going to be interesting. And another person who, it's again, the ideas, the uplifting, all the good stuff. Those are the kind of people we want on here. I'm going to say this again, Mark, in his organization that he runs, not laying off anybody, has the ability to do it, and he does it. And that's what I would say to anybody out there. If you have that ability, I know many companies are keeping people on medical. That alone, I can afford that, and they're doing that. Other people are putting funds together for their people. But it's good stuff. There's uplifting stuff out there. We could tell those stories, and let's do it every week.
Hey, Coach, we're going to be doing it for the next 20 weeks, and I'll tell you, BBN is going to be asking a lot of questions about that matchup versus Kentucky. It was a beautiful idea, but we'll be having fun stuff pop up for the next 20 weeks. Coach says we'll have a leader next week. That is an understatement, everybody. So make sure you tune in next week, the second episode, Coffee with Cal, with right there, the legendary Coach Cal of Kentucky basketball. It'll air April 20th.
We could use a sponsor from one of those coffees. I went neutral here with my cup, but I could be holding another cup up here that said you went neutral. What coffee company wants to step in here and be a part of this with us?
I think we need a sponsor, Coach. That sounds great. 20 weeks, big-time guests. That exposure would call for somebody to sponsor the coffee.
And everything goes to charity. Whatever that sponsor brings in goes directly to charity. Nothing goes anywhere else.
I would refuse to get off this air with not giving equal parts credit to your wife, Ellen, because she is just as much a part of this effort as well. It's a Calipari family effort. April 20th, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. 7:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Coffee with Cal, an incredible guest, same time, same place, maybe different coffee mug next week, Coach.
Thanks, Jordan. Good job.
Thank you.